This story is usually told as a celebration of faith, a man who believed, a man who obeyed, a man who trusted a promise. But that version removes the most dangerous part, because Abraham is not asked to believe something true, he is asked to act before knowing whether it is true at all. The story does not begin with comfort, it begins with a command that arrives without credentials. Leave your land, leave your family, leave everything that explains who you are. No map, no timeline, no proof. Only a promise that points forward and erases what is behind. This is not faith as reassurance. This is faith as rupture. Abraham is not searching for meaning. Meaning interrupts him. And that interruption creates the first psychological fracture. Because once you accept a promise that cannot be verified, turning back is no longer neutral. Every step forward makes doubt more expensive. He moves. He travels. He becomes a foreigner everywhere he goes. Tents instead of cities. Temporary shelter instead of roots. The land is promised but never owned. The future is guaranteed but never arrives. Time passes, and this is where the story becomes uncomfortable. Because the promise does not accelerate. It delays. Years pass with no child, no confirmation, no adjustment to the terms. Silence becomes part of the test. And silence does something specific to the human mind. It forces interpretation. Every event becomes a sign. Every delay becomes a question. Every failure demands an explanation. Did I misunderstand? Did I hesitate? Did I do something wrong? Or worse, what if the promise was never meant to be fulfilled the way I imagined? Abraham does what humans always do under prolonged uncertainty. He improvises. Egypt, deception, survival tactics. The story does not pause to judge these moments. It just records them. Faith does not make him consistent. It makes him adaptable. And adaptability under a sacred promise is dangerous. Because once the goal is fixed, the methods become negotiable. The promise is reaffirmed. Still no child. More time passes, and the pressure increases. This is not impatience. It is structural stress. A future has been promised, but biology has limits. So another solution appears, a workaround. Hagar. The promise must be kept somehow, and when systems delay, humans intervene. The child arrives, but not the one expected, and immediately hierarchy forms, legitimacy, inheritance, exclusion. Pain enters the story not because of malice, but because of alignment. Someone must belong, someone must not. The promise does not prevent suffering, it organizes it. And then, finally, the impossible happens. A child arrives too late to feel safe. Isaac, not as relief, as vulnerability. Because now Abraham has something to lose. And this is where the story reveals its true core. The test is not whether Abraham can believe without evidence. The test is whether he can surrender the evidence once it finally appears. The command returns. This time there is no future language, no descendants, no land, no blessing. Only a single instruction. Take your son, go to the mountain, offer him. And the most unsettling detail is not the command, it is the lack of protest. Abraham does not argue. He does not ask for clarification. He does not negotiate. He moves. This is not obedience as trust. This is obedience as identity. When a promise has defined your life long enough, refusing becomes impossible. Because refusal would mean admitting that everything before might have been meaningless. And meaning, once constructed, defends itself. The walk up the mountain is slow. Questions are asked. Answers are delayed. And at the last moment the act is stopped. Not explained, not justified, just halted. And the story moves on. No reflection, no aftermath. Which leaves a question the text never resolves. What kind of person passes this test? Not someone who loves less. Someone whose sense of purpose has overridden every other attachment. Abraham becomes the father of faith, but also the prototype of something else. A human willing to sacrifice the present for a future guaranteed by an unseen authority. This pattern does not remain ancient. It repeats whenever people accept promises that cannot be audited. Whenever sacrifice is justified by outcomes no one can verify yet. Whenever obedience becomes proof of belonging. The story does not tell you whether Abraham was right. It shows you what happens when belief becomes the organizing principle of a life. Stability disappears, certainty moves into the future, and everything real becomes provisional. Abraham never returns home, because there is no home left to return to, only a direction. And that is why this story is still dangerous, not because it demands faith, but because it shows how easily meaning can ask for everything and sound reasonable while doing it. The story does not condemn Abraham. It does something more unsettling. It leaves the question open. What would you give up if you believed the promise was real? And how would you know when the cost had gone too far?